They are some of the Bible's most well-known words. They also happen to be some of the Bible's darkest questions. Even Jesus, in his final moments on the cross, follows the example of David here in Psalm 22 and combines the first two steps in our formula for lament, turning to God and offering protests or complaints. Launching into agony, both David and Jesus boldly ask in verses 1 and 2 of Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from my cries of anguish? My God, I cry out to you by day, but you do not answer. By night, but I find no rest. It is a striking lament. Perhaps even reading or hearing those words, you can sense the anguish of both men as they each express an almost unparalleled depth of passion and pain. A pain that comes from their reflections that God, the Lord, has turned his back and abandoned them. And yet, despite these two loaded complaints, David does something remarkable in the verses to follow. Turning from his anguish with a simple yet, David turns to God's character in a move that builds a bridge that leads him from a posture of complaint to a stance where he offers bold requests. I wonder, can you see it in verses 3 to 5? David says to God, yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. But this isn't the only time in Psalm 22 that David uses the word yet. After relaying to God the acute pain he is experiencing from everyone's rejection, David again cries out yet in verses 9 and 10. Do you see what David is doing here in verses 3 to 5 and verses 9 to 10? Amid the deep pain and sense of abandonment he is experiencing, David anchors his soul to who God is and what he has done. Such actions are seen frequently in the Lament Psalms, as many of their authors frequently and confidently called upon God to act in ways that were in keeping with his character, past saving actions, and covenant promises. David's yet marks a turning point in both his journey and ours. Yet is the place in our journey where our pains and our belief in God's faithfulness, goodness, love, and power can coexist. Yet gives us both an invitation and a way to ask God boldly for help, even when we are hurting terribly. Yet reminds us that the pains, sorrows, heartaches, and fears of our present circumstances don't have to have lifted before we can ask our Heavenly Father for help. Yet ultimately sets us on the pathway from heartbreak toward the ultimate destination of all our laments, hope. It certainly does these things for David as he desperately turns, with God's character in the forefront of his mind, to make his bold requests in verses 11 to 21. Praying with an urgent desperation that speaks of his frailty, powerlessness, and ultimate need for God's help, he expectantly cries out to God to not be far from me, for trouble is near, and there is no one to help. But you, Lord, do not be far from me. You are my strength. Come quickly to help me. Have you ever prayed with a boldness and a confidence like David here? Why not give it a go and let David's boldness in this lament fan the flame of belief within your prayer life?